Daredevil is a show about morality. It is also a show about friendship, justice, life, and death, love, free will, and revenge. Watching this show, I found myself asking questions and reassessing my convictions. Is it ever okay to take a life? When is it justifiable to take a life? Is it ever appropriate to take justice into your own hands when the system has failed? Is brutally beating someone moral just because you don't kill them? What does it mean to be a friend? How do you be a good friend? Is it okay to lie to your friends to protect them? Should you try to change your friends for the better? When should you cut ties with your friends? What's the difference between lust and love? What is the nature between their relationship? Is revenge healthy? Where do morals come from? How do you know if you're doing the right thing? If you haven't watched the show, please go and watch the first video or go watch the show. The reason why I made part 1 was to persuade you to watch the show if you haven't. If you're thinking about watching this video and you haven't watched the show, don't watch this video at all. Watch my first video to see if the show will interest you, or go directly to the show. Personally, before watching this, I'd watch Daredevil Season 1, Season 2, The Defenders, and then lastly Daredevil Season 3. Due to the nature of this video, I will be spoiling a lot of key plot points. I'm going to cover a lot of topics. I'm going to talk about friendship, love, free will, life and death, revenge, faith, justice, meaningful action, parents and guardians, fear, the ability for people to change and sacrifice. In order to talk about these things, I will have to reference plot points from various episodes over the span of, well, essentially 4 different seasons if you include The Defenders. So again, if you haven't watched the show, watch my last Daredevil video to see if this show is something that will actually interest you. Friendship is a complicated thing. It's a voluntary relationship. It's separate from family, acquaintances, and coworkers. What makes a good friend? Is it sacrificing for the betterment of your friend? I'd argue no. I'd argue a friend shouldn't force you to place them over your values. That isn't the same thing as saying you can't disagree with your friend. Friends will disagree. No two people will agree 100%. That also isn't to say that you should never challenge your friends, or offer them advice, or judge them. A friend is when two people know each other and have a bond of mutual affection. Can a friend criticize your values? Yes. This is what makes a friendship complicated. I just said a friend won't force you to sacrifice your values, but yet they can advise you to change course, challenge your beliefs, and judge you. Well, if you're judging a friend, why are you judging them? Hopefully it's because you care about them. Hopefully you challenge them because you want to make sure they're in the right headspace to make rational decisions. One thing that is tough about being a friend is having the courage to stand up to your friends and being honest when you perceive their actions as wrong or harmful. It's especially tough because you always run the risk of potentially losing that friend. There's also a point when you might have to cut ties with a friend because you have differences that can't be reconciled. And since friendship is voluntary, that's okay. That isn't to say you don't care about them. There is a point when you don't want to watch your friend destroy themselves. There's also a point when a friend becomes so destructive or counterproductive to the point that where you're trying to head in life, it's necessary to go separate ways. Netflix's Daredevil depicts the complication of friendships very well. Take Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson as an example. These are two different characters who, at one point, have a similar sense of justice. They find value in helping those who, for whatever reason, cannot help themselves. They give up fortune to help make their neighborhood a better place. It seems to be clear that when they met, they both had not only the same goal, but they also agreed on the means to achieve that goal. As a result, together they open a small law firm named Nelson and Murdoch Attorneys at Law. As the show progresses, their ideology begins to splinter. The goal is still to rebuild and save Hell's Kitchen, but the means start to become different. Foggy Nelson still believes in the system, and Matt Murdock starts to use his legal career as a means to gain information and help guide where he places his vigilante efforts. Matt Murdock isn't giving up on law, but law isn't just the solution to his goal anymore. Foggy doesn't know about Matt's nights out, where he beats up thugs. Matt begins lying to him. The first case they take as Nelson and Murdock, attorneys at law, is an alleged murder that Karen Page has committed. Matt convinces Nelson to take the case because he believes Karen is innocent. He knows this because he listens to her heartbeat to help determine if she is lying or not. Again, this is a power that Nelson is completely unaware of. Matt and Foggy, to the best of their abilities, use the law to help Karen, but via a line of questioning, Matt is able to determine that Karen is hiding something that would be integral to the case, which would help prove her innocence. Karen, of course, being untrusting of Foggy and Matt due to her framing an attempted murder by one of the guards, Matt believes he has no other choice but to use his vigilante alter ego. This, in my mind, is the first time we see a splintering between Foggy and Matt. Even if they both don't know it yet, Matt is lying by omission to Foggy. But we also see the start of another friendship, as Karen begins to trust Foggy and Matt for helping her, even though she couldn't pay them. She does offer her labor and skills to repay her debt, however, as due to the legal issues she was going through, she won't be employed at her work anymore. Matt and Foggy decide to hire her because they need help. At this point in the story, Foggy has no idea of Matt's vigilante ego. Karen, on the other hand, she has come face to face with Matt's vigilante alter ego. However, she's unaware that it is Matt. This adds a second person that Matt begins to lie to. One of the reasons behind a secret identity is to protect the ones you love. And one of the justifications for keeping a secret from your closest friends is that if they knew, it's much more likely that it can be used to get to the vigilante. However, the problem is, Matt Murdock and Daredevil overlap heavily. Matt uses his connections to the legal system to gain information and access. Unlike other superheroes, Peter Parker's high school life and his adventures as Spider-Man, logically speaking, have a larger degree of separation. Bruce Wayne does use his wealth to acquire and build the gadgets and tools that he needs to be Batman, but his billionaire playboy lifestyle is largely separated from his shadowy antics in the darkest corners of Gotham. Matt Murdock, on the other hand, using his career as a lawyer, makes his personal and vigilante life overlap, thus putting his friends in danger. Potentially, that is. Therefore, one could make the argument that Matt should be honest with his friends, especially since he trusts Foggy and he knows Karen is innocent. To talk further about this topic, it's necessary to define what friendship is. Earlier, I described friendship as a voluntary relationship, and I said that friendships shouldn't force you to sacrifice your values. Those are all true, but friendship is further definable. Friendship is a mutual love, respect, fondness, or admiration, which is also something I vaguely stated earlier. But we can still delineate. Love, admiration, respect, and fondness are emotional responses to the virtues and values of other people. Values are what someone holds as important in life. A value is something that you act to acquire and keep. For instance, life, love, fun, pleasure, wealth, justice, reason, purpose, and self-esteem. A virtue is the actions and characteristics that you take to gain and keep a value. If love is a value, you should be kind, considerate, and have integrity. If life is a value, your virtues might be productiveness, health consciousness, and so on. If justice is a value, your virtues might be objectivity, helpfulness, righteousness, and fairness. If you value honesty and you are truthful and have integrity, a person who is a thief is going to challenge your values and virtues. If you attempt to be friends with them, it's likely that you're not going to like the thief. To be a friend is to appreciate the values and virtues of someone else. To accept someone as a friend is to hold the belief that this person is in accordance with your values or complements your values. If someone is insisting that you sacrifice your values for the sake of supposed friendship, it's likely that they are not deserving of your admiration. I know some people out there might say this is a cold or robotic way of describing friendship. I would disagree. Friendship is certainly a subjective thing. Not everyone is going to be in perfect accordance with your values. Friendship, while applied subjectively, is an objective concept. A friendship is real. The virtues that another person holds that you appreciate can depend on a number of things which affect the importance of your values in relation to each other, which is known as your hierarchy of values. The virtues that you seek in another person can be heavily influenced by values that you believe in but don't have. Let's imagine that you have friends who are in accordance with your value of integrity, reason, and productivity. You might then want to seek out friends that service your other values like passion and pleasure. If you value loyalty, then just the fact that someone has been present your entire life and has been honest with you might be a good friend. A friend does not come at an overall cost of your values. And to be clear, I'd like to stress, someone does not have to be in perfect accordance with your values to be a friend. And a friend does not have to be passive, and neither do you. If you value truth and education, then you'll appreciate someone that challenges your perceptions, or judges you, or who is honest. There's a difference between someone trying to dismantle your values and someone who appreciates your values, therefore offering advice.
I wish you could see this place.
I can, if you describe it to me.
So anyways, my favorite part is the ceiling. So it's literally dripping with thousands of lights. They're shaped like chili peppers, which sounds really tacky. I know, but it's not. It's magic. This is me.
Sure you don't live 2 more blocks? Maybe 3?
I wish. We could visit.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna kiss you.
Love is simply defined as an intense feeling of deep affection. Previously, I described how love is an emotional response to the values and virtues of someone. While you can categorize various different types of love, I believe it's best to catalog love into 2 categories. These 2 are platonic and romantic. Platonic would be love without sexual impulses. This would be familial love and love among best friends. Romantic love subsumes sexual desire. Romantic love is a passion that unites mind and body in the sexual act, meaning it's not just superficial sexual desire, aka horniness. It's 2 people that have a mutual appreciation of each other's values and virtues, and there exists a sexual desire that emanates from having self-esteem rather than seeking self-esteem from sexual acts. Broadly speaking, a sexual act is powerful, and it's not separated from emotions. Philosopher Ayn Rand, in an interview by Playboy, states that sex is one of the most important aspects of man's life, and therefore must never be approached lightly or casually. A sexual relationship is proper only on the ground of the highest values one can find in a human being. Sex must not be anything other than a response to values, and that is why I consider promiscuity immoral. Not because sex is evil, but because sex is too good and too important. Say what you will about Ayn Rand, but her delineation of love and sex is the best any philosopher has described. You can disagree about whether or not casual sex is immoral, and that's fine. But she's certainly right about how sexual desire and love relate in terms of romance. She's simply stating that the sexual act should ascend from basic animalistic instincts We are human. She's stating that it should be union between the body and the mind.
I can't. I can't do this alone. I can't take another step.
You're not alone. We never were.
So I